And I should go to YouTube on my phone as well so that I can see on my phone when we go live there. So we're just preparing to go live, and
Okay.
we are live. I believe we are live. Yes, we are. Oh, greetings, greetings, family. Welcome, welcome to the Sister Shanice Show channel. As you can see, we have the privilege to have in the house His Royal Highness. Okay, I'm going to be posting the link in the background as I need to do. Let me just grab that link, copy it, and put it here in my WhatsApp so that I could be sending the direct link out to our wonderful, wonderful audience. Your Royal Highness, it is indeed a privilege and an honor to be able to have this moment where we can speak with you one-on-one. It truly is an honor. How have you been?
Oh, well, it has been very interesting. We've just seen the end of our rain season, and winter is now approaching, and it's time now to begin looking inward. It's time we've finished planting and harvesting. It's time for introspection and internalization as the trees are losing their leaves, as winter is starting to creep in, and we cut off unnecessary friendships. We avoid risk businesses. We concentrate on our roots. Even when a tree has no leaves, it doesn't mean that it is dead. So when we look at the winter season, it is time for internalization and personal development and establishing our roots and getting rid of the dry leaves that are clinging to us, relationships that are costing us money, emotions that let the winter roll. Let the elements that are attached to us, that are not part of us for the next season. Let's start off the shedding of unnecessary burden. And I think that's my message during winter. It's moments of reflection and introspection.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing, because yeah, we are a people who used to, move with the seasons. We understood the seasons, we understood the cosmos, we understood what we ought to be doing at certain times of the year. And those of us who are outside of Africa have probably, lost that knowledge. So, thank you for reminding us of what the winter season symbolizes.
Actually, while you are battling on that,
Yes.
I must be quick to put context to African spirituality in the depth of our understanding that it is not African, and even the last few generations have lost it. But because I'm sinking back into time immemorial to what I call AI, which is not artificial intelligence, but it is ancestral intelligence, whereby the genealogy of our birth circles around 9 months of our birth. And the question is, why are we celebrating our birthdays every 12 months? When in fact our cycles are 9 months. Because if we celebrated our birthdays in months, in a 9-month cycle, then you are able actually to put your life in sync with your seasons as they are changing. This thing of locking your birthday on the 6th of July or locking it in on the 4th of February or 22nd of November, and you get stuck there. The question is, every year you are stealing 3 years, 3 months. Where are you stealing those months? Where are you stealing those months from? Because your natural cycle from the day your mother got pregnant to the day you came out was exactly 9 months. So 9 months later, you must be celebrating. 9 months later, you must celebrate. You notice that if you could pick that cycle, you'll be able to have your birthdays in summer, in winter, in autumn, in spring, as you are now moving together with the cycle of the moon and etc., which is a science which I think we can redevelop and remind ourselves or remember ourselves so that we are in sync. Many times we do things, we do relationships, but we're out of sync with time. So we don't even know where we are, because we are taught that you are now 45 years old. Your birthday is the 13th of September every year. So even when seasons change upon you, they find you fast asleep. So I think part of consciousness is actually to awaken your availability to the doors and the windows of time.
Very interesting. I've never heard of that cycle. 9-month cycle before. Most interesting. It mean I get more birthdays, but it also make me older in years.
maybe that's how old you are.
Yeah, older in years. Oh, family, as you come through the door, please do welcome His Royal Highness. His Royal Highness is going to be the special guest in the UK at the Pan-African Conference Movement's 50th African Liberation Day celebration. The African, UK, and international organizations are eagerly anticipating this event from Africa to the UK, a tour of His Royal Highness ChangaMbire Maponga with special guest Professor James Small. If you are in the UK or if you are near by the UK, please make sure that you attend the Pan-African Congress's 50th African Liberation Day celebration. It's going to be phenomenal. During this interview, I will be giving you more information about where you can get the tickets and how you can see our very own His Royal Highness live in the UK. Your Royal Highness, have you visited the UK before, or is this your first trip?
I have visited the whole world, both in this life and the previous life. But yes, I lived in the UK from 1997, 98 up to 2004. I was in Birmingham. I was in Norfolk. I went into Essex. I was in Wolverhampton. I ended up in London, actually next to Enfield there. So I'm quite familiar with the London space. And while I was there, I also had the privilege of spending some time in Utrecht and Frankfurt and Donetsk in Ukraine. Yeah, but so I'm quite familiar with Europe. Though it's not extensive, but I'm not new to Piccadilly Circus, Oxford Circus, and the underground tubes and the red buses. And people are always gloomy, reading books, but never coming to understanding.
Wow, that's so true. Oh, Your Royal Highness, I mean, I was born in the UK and you're more familiar with it than I am. Wonderful. So what can they show you when you get to the UK? You've seen most of it, seen it all. But, we welcome you. We're so looking forward to you joining us in the UK.
Thank you.
Family, please do make sure that you visit the Pan-African Congress's African Liberation Day event in the UK, from Africa to UK tour, starting on Saturday, the 24th of May, from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. in Bristol. Then on Sunday, the 24th, it's in Manchester. Then on Monday, the 26th, in Birmingham. And then on Sunday, the 1st of June, in London. And I'm going to be posting the link as well, where you can get your tickets via Eventbrite for this event. Okay, so make sure you put it in your diary. I have so many questions for His Royal Highness today for our conversation. And, we're going to be talking about African liberation because, it's such an important time of the year. There's going to be African liberation events happening around the African world. And we're excited in the UK about this particular event. Your Royal Highness, can you please share with us, what does African Liberation Day mean to you, please?
The liberation of a people will not find a better definition than the very first item and article on the United Nations Human Rights Charter, where the sovereignty, independence, freedom of all citizens on the earth must be respected. Unfortunately, the interpretation of that clause has white privilege in it. Because the very same people who crafted such a beautiful concept are the very same people who are involved in the colonization, the resource extraction, the aid, the regime change, the medical and pharmaceutical mischiefs, the economic hitmens are found within the very same group. And the beauty of that clause is that it accommodates the plurality of culture and that we are sharing the same continent and sharing the same, country, or we are sharing the same world or the same universe. So that what you are doing in China, what you are doing in America, what you are doing in Africa affects us all. I mean, when you look at movements such as the green energy and user-friendly crops and mining, environmental studies that are happening, which are intended for conservation. Beautiful concept again, from WTO to the green energy lobbyists within the American government, the British government, and the European Union. But their cousins, their brothers, their sisters, and their wives are working in the very same companies that are logging in Congo, that are cutting the Himalayas and messing up the Amazon and wreaking havoc in Congo. And this is where sometimes maybe really you may forgive me. I need someone to educate me about white people. I need someone who can take their time and just walk me through. But how do you say something with half of your mouth and the other half is actually lying? You don't mean what you're saying. I mean, it's one thing for you to say you want all of us to have this green energy, la la la. But next door, you are discussing how to vandalize the very same principle. I mean, we talk about peace, for example. And after talking peace, next door, they're talking about how many weapons to ship to Afghanistan, to Syria, to Gaza, to even now of late, they're even planning to, our only hope of late, which is Burkina Faso. May the gods and the ancestors protect Ibrahim Traore. And while we are busy praising Ibrahim Traore, Langley, the Jim Crow, coconut, brown face, white brain, is being commissioned by the same American government to go and butcher him. And you wonder, now you want Africa to be developed. You want Africa to be sustainable and self-sufficient. Africa is a is a basket case. Trump even said it in a more terrible way when he called us other things I can't mention on public media. Okay, here are the Africans you have called a dark continent, beginning to switch on their candles, beginning to sweep their houses, building some roads, putting some supermarkets and building schools for their children, a small little factory for making tomato soup, like tomato sauce in Burkina Faso, that America would get mad that Ibrahim Traore is now manufacturing tomato sauce. And then they bring up all these stories about gold. When he went into power, I did my full research. There was not a single ounce of gold in the Reserve Bank. But in the few years he has been in office, he has been able to rebuild the Reserve Bank, re-put together the economy and started to do some reserves, took some few mines just to have some sovereignty so that your currency can have value. Now America is angry that you're now using your own money, etc. For crying out loud, we have never asked the Americans what are they doing with the Texas oil or what they did with the Red Indians. But why would you say you want Africa to be developed? And when you see the slightest hint that Africa is now developing, that you are the very same person again who loses their heads. I mean, you lose your marbles. It's almost like you only love Africa as long as their hands are stretched out and they are begging and their children are full of mucus and they are coughing and they are sick. Beautiful for the Europeans and Americans to take pictures in Ethiopia and Eritrea. People are starving, people are hungry, that kind of thing. Then the Hadzabe tribes and the Khoisan and etc. Primitive people in there. Then it excites the Americans that we have cell phones, we have yogurt, we have Coca-Cola. I've seen some of those videos, by the way, on the internet, and I've been offended when these tourists go to these indigenous people and they literally poison them with their drinks, with their technology, and etc. For crying out loud, why can't you just allow people to be? So your question on the liberation of Africa, it must not be political or propaganda kind of liberation. It must be holistic. If you are talking about liberation of Africa, it is the freedom of the African to be himself, to think himself, to fend for himself, build himself, to have pride in himself, and make friends with himself and those that he chooses to make friends with, own his time, celebrate his seasons, eat his own food in whatever way he wants to prepare it. It's none of your business. Look after his animals and look after his monkeys that are in his backyard and look after his pythons and lions that are growling in his backyard. And I think we don't need Americans to tell us and Europeans to tell us how to look after Africa. We have been here for millions of years. Millions of years. Before the white men could even bath and knew where the toilet were, when they were still sitting in the caves of the Caucasus, right in the Nidandals. Africa was building cities, mining, forging instruments and weapons, building pyramids, building, artifacts, the Shango bone, mathematical calculators. And you read the Egyptian walls, you can even see UFOs, space shuttles, medicines, alchemy, and etc. We are not as uncivilized. That narrative is not an African narrative. It is actually a European narrative. Poverty, incivility are not African at all. The fact that we are indigenous, organic, and original doesn't mean that we are primitive. Because if we are primitive, why are you now opting for organic foods? Why are you now opting for organic homes? Why are you now opting for organic clothes? Why are you opting for organic medicines? But we have been doing this for the longest of time. And then you call us uncivilized. So the concept of liberation must be holistic. And I think, in one sentence, if the West can leave Africa just for 2 to 3 to 5 years and leave us alone without interfering with our governments, without giving us puppet governments, without controlling our currencies from Europe or from America, and allow us to foster and build new relationships, we may not need any donation or aid from anywhere in the world. Or even after they've stolen all these resources, we still have enough on the continent to feed the whole universe. I thank you.
We thank you so, so much. I'm sure everyone in the audience, welcome to everyone in the audience. I'm sure everyone in the audience would agree with everything that you've said there, Your Royal Highness. If they were to only leave us alone, we could probably revert back to the description that you gave us of where we were, centuries ago, prior to having any interaction with the Europeans. I wonder, could that be their fear that we will be able to then, if they were to leave us alone, to rebuild those great cities, those great kingdoms, using our own great scientists, our great engineers, our great miners? I wonder if the fear could be that we would indeed recreate the magnificent Africa of the past that had existed while they were still in the Caucasus Mountains? Or, have I got it completely wrong? What are your thoughts there? Please share them with us, Your Royal Highness.
The construction and development of a nation must be organic, not plastic. It must come from within. We did not need consultations from Europe and America to build the Africa that we built. The danger we have now, even the bigger problem we have now, is that those that can effect change have been thoroughly contaminated by education of the West. So the idea of a developed Africa is in the similitude of Paris, of London, of New York, of Tokyo. But I have a surprise for you. I'm looking into a new generation after we're done with re-educating our young people. And they look at our archives. They look at our technologies. They look at our houses. They look at our medicines. They look at our architecture and our sciences. That if the correct form of education could be inculcated into the minds of the young, would build cities that look like honeycombs, would build cities that are roundabout, like the houses that we are living in right now, would build medicines that are from the grass and the trees that are around us, would build environments that are as friendly, but the missing link is that we have the black population that is almost 80 to 90% contaminated. And therefore, development must not be measured in colonial terms of how does Africa look in comparison to Canada, in comparison to Australia. Men, we are the mother, for crying out loud. There is no child who can compare themselves to their mother. What they are claiming to be technology is actually these are what I might call the residues of our technology. With all their technology, no one has been able to rebuild the pyramid or rebuild the Great Zimbabwe. So there is still more from where that is coming from. Why am I saying that? Because our arts and our craft have preserved this knowledge. And if you don't know how to read it, you may just think it's a piece of art. But to us, it is a library and a science of ancient times, which can be converted into technologies and give the world the real look of Africa without necessarily putting concrete jungles, which have become psychiatric wards for those that live in them, unhealthy environments for those that live there. Britain, with all its beauty, you can't even drink water from the Thames. Even a dog will get sick and die from that river. And you call that development? Call that civilization? You call that a first world? I bet you know. In my own words, monkeys in the jungles of Africa have a much healthier environment than the queen in the Buckingham Palace. I thank you.
So true. We thank you. We thank you, King. And we thank everybody in the audience for joining us. We see your messages there. General Mosquito says, I knew I recognized that voice from somewhere. Yes, Mr. Maponga. Yes, you're absolutely right. His Royal Highness does have a very distinguished voice, and we're privileged to have him with us this evening. We want to welcome My Heart as well. From Art Ma'at, who's saying greetings in the UK right now. Did I hear correctly? King Maponga and Professor Small are here on the 26th at ALD event. Woo! They said, these are crazy people. She said, we're trying to figure it out. Yes, you heard absolutely right. Let me just very quickly give you the information again, and then I'm going to post you the link in the chat, okay? We are indeed privileged in the UK to be welcoming as part of the Pan-African Congress Movement's 50th ALD anniversary, His Royal Highness himself.
certificate. You've done it now.